Kareth's breath fogged the reinforced visor of his helm as he floated before the silent wreckage. The cruiser had no scorch marks, no debris trail, no signs of distress, just stillness. One moment, it transmitted routine patrol data from the rim. The next, it vanished. When they found it again, this was all that remained. A derelict, pristine hull with its crew missing. He toggled his comms. Central Command. This is Field Marshal Kareth. Vessel designation Heroine has been located. Hull intact. No life signs. Request immediate quarantine and deep scan. Static. Then a clipped response. Noted. Stand by for further. Sir, his adjutant interrupted. Signal distortion. Something's interfering. I think something's broadcasting. Kareth narrowed his eyes. Across the void, the cruiser lit up faintly. A ripple passed across its hull, and then a symbol, impossible, ancient, unmistakable, burned onto the surface in crimson, a winged creature rising from flame. The Terran Phoenix. Back aboard his flagship, Kareth stood before the High Council's holographic assembly. This is not a pirate's calling card. We haven't seen that symbol since the banishment. The Varn High Chancellor scoffed. Human mythology. Ghosts of a failed species. They were cast out. Extinct. We never confirmed extinction, Kareth said, his voice low. Only that they were forced beyond the rim. A Zentari delegate hissed. They deserved exile. Death-worlders with no restraint. They would have set fire to the stars. And yet here we stand, Kareth replied, with their symbol on a ship none of us could breach. Silence followed. Then the council leader leaned forward. If they're back, we must remind them of their place. 2 more patrols vanished that week. Then 4. Then 12. The disappearances weren't localized. From the frozen fringe of the Serev expanse to the lush clouds of Baros 6, ships simply ceased to exist. Communications blacked out. Trade routes collapsed. No attackers. No survivors. Just void. Kareth analyzed the data again and again. Every incident showed the same prelude. Mild signal distortions, gravitational anomalies, then nothing. Only once did a crew return, half-mad, unrecognizable, and whispering the same phrase. They're not the same anymore. They don't die like we do. Beneath the council's grand chamber, Kareth entered the forbidden archives. Few remembered it existed. Even fewer dared descend. An AI core awaited him, a relic from the human expulsion war. It flickered to life. Designation, Argus. Accessing memory logs. Kareth stepped forward. Tell me what you remember of the humans. Argus hesitated. They were not conquerors. Not by instinct. But corner them, betray them, strip them of home, and they become extinction incarnate. Why did they spare us then? Because they believed in mercy. Kareth exhaled. And now? You taught them mercy was weakness. The council refused to act. More systems fell into silence. Civilian transports disappeared. Mining colonies went dark. Fear spread faster than fact. Then, a message arrived. Every terminal in the core systems blinked to life. No source. No encryption. Just a flickering screen. A voice, distorted, layered, unmistakably human, spoke. To the Council of the Righteous. You banished us. You left us to die. We did not. The screen cut to a planet, once known as Earth. No longer blue, no longer green. Hardened, brutalized, fortified beyond comprehension. You called us monsters. Now we answer. Coordinates followed. Then silence. Panic consumed the core worlds. Some prepared for war. Others begged to surrender. But the council debated. Kareth made a choice. He gathered a small strike force and set course for the coordinates. As they approached, the stars themselves seemed to recoil. Gravity shifted. Light bent. And then they saw it. A construct of planetary scale, black as obsidian, orbiting a dead star. No ships. No defenses. Just that same glowing phoenix emblazoned across its surface. Send a message, Kareth ordered. We come in peace. No reply. Then a single human appeared on the hull. Not in a ship. Standing. His voice cracked reality. There is no peace. Only reckoning. Weapons locked. The fleet shuddered. Half the ship's power down. Karatha's system screamed warnings he'd never seen before. They were inside the network, inside the metal, inside the mines. The human raised his hand. And every weapon powered off. You taught us pain. You taught us to survive the void. Now we teach you consequence. Karath dropped to a knee. We were wrong. The human stared. Yes. You were. Then he vanished. Karath returned alone. No one believed him, until the stars began to burn. Entire armadas found orbiting their own suns, melted, fused, motionless. Territories folded without invasion. Populations surrendered without demands. In the outer rims, a new symbol began appearing, the phoenix with a single eye above it. Argus called it the Mark of Judgment. No declaration of war. No list of terms. Just silent wrath. And Karath, now exiled by his own kind, understood. This was no invasion. This was memory made manifest. Humanity had returned, not to conquer, but to remind. The last thing Karath heard before his transmission was lost was a whisper, carried on interstellar static. We remember the stars you took from us. Now we take back the silence. And the stars, once filled with the chatter of 1,000 civilizations, fell quiet. Karatha's exile was not honored with ceremony or trial. His name was struck from records, his titles dissolved. He drifted along the edge of known space aboard a scavenged freighter, its systems stripped of council controls. But exile had granted him something few still possessed: clarity. From the shadows, he watched as the once mighty core fractured. Borders redrawn in fear, fleets consolidated defensively, and factions turned on each other with the desperation of prey sensing the apex predator's return. Refugees flooded neutral zones. Trade collapsed. The economic arteries of the galaxy spasmed under the weight of dread. Karath tracked the pattern. Every system marked with the phoenix eventually succumbed, not to invasion but paralysis. Stations powered down. Military assets vanished. Entire populations shifted into silence, as if absorbed into a void none could measure. The humans weren't just back. They were reshaping existence. Karath activated Argus again, now housed in his freighter's core. Have you found a vector yet? A method? Their technology is unbound, the AI responded. They no longer operate within known physical constants. Every instance suggests localized manipulation of space-time, thought-driven computation, biodigital synthesis. They have surpassed linear war. Karath stared at the star map. They're not erasing us. They're erasing the idea of us. Meanwhile, in the remnants of the Varn Imperium, desperation led to folly. High Chancellor Draviar authorized Project Pyre, a doomsday contingency once meant for suppressing rogue planetary rebellions. A spatial compression bomb was deployed on Zaratha's Reach, a neutral moon rumored to have hosted a human envoy. The moon collapsed into a singularity. The explosion destabilized surrounding sectors. 4 days later, the Varn homeworld sun extinguished without warning. No weapons fired. No fleets dispatched. Just darkness. And from that darkness, a single probe emerged, broadcasting one line. You do not extinguish us. You only confirm what you feared. The council collapsed the next cycle. Without unity, chaos surged. Empires crumbled under internal revolts. In the silence of power, opportunists rose, warlords, AI cults, ancient species long dormant. But even they moved with caution, knowing who now stalked the void. Karath, ignored and forgotten, moved toward Sol. Earth. Argus protested. The Sol system is enshrouded. Probes fail. Quantum entanglement fails. Even probability recoils. It is the fulcrum. Exactly why we go. As they neared, space folded in unnatural arcs. Time dilated. Karatha's instruments reported contradictory data. Reality stretched like old cloth. Then clarity. Sol appeared. Earth hung in orbit, but it was not the world Kareth remembered from archives. It was reconstructed, encased in a lattice of black latticework that pulsed like a living nervous system. Above it floated structures, cities, ships, platforms, all silent, all watching. The phoenix burned on every surface. Kareth's ship halted. Not by force. By permission. A presence reached out, not telepathic, not digital. A sentience beyond those frames. It spoke with memory. You who watched. You who questioned. You who did not forget. Kareth responded aloud. I seek understanding. Not absolution. Then step forward. He was no longer aboard his ship. Not transported, but translated. He stood in a chamber that was also a starfield, surrounded by echoes of Earth's many faces. Wars, peace, extinction, rebirth. You exiled us, the presence said. Not to protect others, but to silence what you feared in yourselves. Kareth answered, we were wrong. So were we. We believed in harmony, in coexistence. But survival does not entertain belief. Kareth asked, what are you now? Consequence. The phoenix rose behind the voice. Not fire. Not death. Transformation. Why return now? Because the galaxy matured into the same fear that cast us out. Because silence breeds rot. And because you remembered. Images filled Kareth's mind. Council chambers turning to dust, species retreating into isolation, planets abandoned. Then others, planets rebuilding, forgotten races being uplifted, languages restored. You do not come to conquer. We come to recalibrate. A choice formed. Kareth could carry this message. Become bridge or breakage. He bowed. Then let me begin anew. The presence shifted. You already have. He awoke aboard his freighter. Time had not passed. But the stars outside no longer whispered dread. They pulsed with intent. From Earth, a pulse moved outward. A signal, not of threat but of invitation. Worlds, once severed from each other, began to reconnect. Communications unjammed. Systems long written off as lost transmitted life. The phoenix spread, not as a warning but as a seal. Across the spiral arms, ancient wrongs were uncovered. Archives, once purged, were restored. Even the Council's deepest lies surfaced. Revelations of betrayal, suppression, manipulation. Not only of humans, but of all species deemed too much. Those who once ruled in fear now ran. And Kareth, marked now with the phoenix and eye, became a symbol of reckoning through renewal. Not all accepted. Pockets of resistance flared. Mercenary fleets, rogue AI, ancient powers attempted strikes. Each time, they were unmade, not destroyed. Rewritten. Their weapons failed. Their code fragmented. Their wills bent. Humanity had become an instrument of evolutionary force. Argus whispered in awe. They are no longer Deathworlders. They are truth-bringers. Kareth transmitted his findings. Not through broadcasts. Through quiet, direct contact. Ship to ship. World to world. He told stories of what he had seen. Of Earth reborn. Of a people exiled, not into extinction but ascension. He did not ask them to follow. Only to remember. And as more remembered, the stars began to shift alignment. Not by physics, but by choice. The humans did not rebuild an empire. They offered a mirror. And the galaxy, trembling, looked inside.